Namaskaram. A very good evening to one and all present here today. So, welcome you all for Mrs. YGP Memorial Lecture today, evening by Dr. Shri Kanniks, Kannikeswaran. And it's going to be a very, very beautiful lecture on the 21st century perspectives on Muthuswami Dikshithar. As we all know, a few words about Srimati Rajalakshmi Parthasarathi, who was affectionately called as Rashmi and also Mrs. YGP. She stood out in excellence in every visionary school building activity of hers. To her, nothing was impossible and nothing was too late, which she had as her uncompromising philosophy till her last breath. Mrs. YGP's revolutionary ideas and schooling techniques were studied with interventions that were too advanced for her times. She never let them go and showed all grit and determination to put in place a robust framework for a successful implementation. And today we are recalling Mrs. YGP with this memorial lecture by Dr. Kanniks, Kannikeswaran. And about Sri Kanniks, Kannikeswaran, he is an internationally renowned musician, composer, music educator, scholar, and documentary filmmaker who has consistently employed his knowledge, understanding in music to create works of art that build bridges across diverse communities and cultures. Centered on issues of relevance to humanity, Kannik's creations are grounded in history and spirituality. They integrate multi-dimensional story telling with movement, visuals, chants, and ensemble music based on Indian ragas in an overarching vision of no otherness. His work on the Indo-colonial music of Muthuswami Dikshithar in 2007 brought widespread popularity to this genre of music. His documentary film, Colonial Interlude on the life and music of Dikshithar, has won awards in film festivals in the United States. Kanniks has been described as a Renaissance personality who effortlessly traverses diverse disciplines such as music, spirituality, and innovation in his talks and his creations. I now take the pleasure of welcoming Dr. Kanniks Kannikeswaran to deliver his YGP's memorial lecture on 21st century perspectives on Muthuswami Dikshithar. Thank you so much.
So, thank you very much for the very kind introduction. I'm going to go off script today to start with. ஏன்னா அந்த கொஞ்சம் தமிழ் பேசலாம் இல்லையா? ஏன்னா அந்த போர்ட்ரேட் பார்த்த உடனே ஒரு இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன், அஃப்கோர்ஸ் நேத்திக்கு அண்ட் முந்தா நேத்திக்கு ராமநவமி. And I was at Nana Nani yesterday in Coimbatore, and there was a procession of the Sita Rama Lakshmana Vigraham with the Nadaswaram playing the Tyagaraja Kirtana in Asaveri. அது கேட்ட உடனே அப்படியே என்னோ பண்ணித்து. ஸோ ஐ மீன் ராமர் இஸ் கம்மிங் டு அ ஹவுஸ் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி. ஸோ ஐ வில் ஸ்டார்ட் ஆஃப் வித் அ வெரி ப்ரீஃப் இன்வொகேஷன் டு ஸ்ரீ ராமா டு செட் த கான்டெக்ஸ்ட். दाशरथे दीनदयानिधे दानवभीकर दामोदरा केशव मामव सीताधव केयूरहार रघुवीरा कोमल पादाब्ज कोदंडराम श्यामल विग्रह संपूर्ण काम मामकी नाम कीर्तने सदा मोद नारद वीणाह्लाद दाशरथे दीनदयानिधे दानवभीकर दामोदरा केशव मामव सीताधव केयूरहार रघुवीरा. Veera. How many of you have heard this song in the audience? Yeah, you've heard. So the composer is Muthuswami Dikshithar. Now the context is, what is the origin of this tune? The origin of this tune is from Ireland. It was composed by, in the form of a plankstee, which is a musical form by O'Carolan, or he was a blind harpist who went around creating compositions in praise of his patrons. So this tune somehow made its way into India, and in the hands of Dikshithar, it transformed into this beautiful composition with lyrics that perfectly describe Rama, and you can see parallels in lyrics between these compositions in Komala Karapallava Padako Dandarama Komala Padabja Kodandarama Ghanasya Ghanashyamala Vardhilaya Adhe Mari Shamala Vigraha Sampurna Kama. So it's like Dikshithar has worked his magic with lyrics that came from, with tunes that came from elsewhere, and created a momentous composition. And out of the 39 of his compositions based on Western tunes, many of them are in praise of Rama. So this intro was inspired by this portrait that's right here. Thank you. The second thing I want to say is to convey my inspiration for Dr. Mrs. YGP. Exactly 18 years ago, in the year 2008, we had an event in Narada Gana Sabha. So we just, Narada Veena Hlada Hlada, we just sang that right. So Narada Gana Sabha, we had an event which was organized by Pujya Swami Dayananda Saraswati, where he honored various artists, including Lalgudi Sri Jayaraman. அந்த சமயத்தில் ஐ டோன்ட் நோ இப்போ நீங்கள் இருந்தெல்லாம் தெரியல அந்த ஈவெண்ட் போது 2008 நவம்பர். ஸோ அதில் வந்து he released the CD Vismaya, an Indo-Celtic journey, which is what we recorded with all the 39 Notiswara Sahitya compositions of Muthuswami Dikshithar. And he invited Mrs. YGP to come to the stage and say a few words. Prior to that, I had spoken of the need for a common set of songs for children all across India. Because the only common set of songs that we have are nursery rhymes. And when you look at the lyrics of the nursery rhymes, like Jack and Jill went up the hill, and then what happened? It didn't end very well. When the kid went, the manda urundu vilundutan illaya, Jack fell down and broke his crown. And then what happened to London Bridge? It's falling down. And Ring Around the Rosies, and there's an inauspicious tone about most of the nursery rhymes. So I'd spoken about that, and Mrs. YGP, in her address in that Sabha, she mentioned we will teach the Notiswara Sahityas in a big way to our students. And sure enough, just a few weeks later, she invited me to PSBB, where the children had a fantastic performance of many of the Notiswara Sahityas that we had recorded, and they even choreographed and danced to some of them. So Jayashi was also there in the audience, right? So it's 2008. So I remember that with great fondness. Both my nieces went to PSBB. Of course, during my time, I went to St. Gabriel's High School, and I had mentioned that to her, and she said, "Wow, the nalla school aache," avdina. So anyway. So now let's get into Muthuswami Dikshithar. So this is 21st century perspectives on Dikshithar. So this is the cover of the book that we had released last year, celebrating 250 years of Muthuswami Dikshithar. And what do we know of Dikshithar? And what should we know in the 21st century? In general, we know that we know and regard him as one of the Trinity, the three Murtis of Karnataka Sangeetam. So, Karnataka Sangeetam, we can just say Shastriya Sangeet, and it's, while speaking at Shastra, we'll definitely call it Shastriya Sangeet, because it's nothing other than that. So, we revere him as one of the Trimurtis, Sangeeta Trimurtis. And that is what is known generally to everyone. This is the year 2026. It was the year 2027 when the first of the musical conferences in Chennai began to happen, and that was the root of the Madras music season. So we are looking at something that happened, 99 years ago. So we want to look at 21st century perspectives. Let's start with the 20th century perspectives, 100 years ago. So what was the perception of Dikshithar like? First of all, he was considered to be one of the Trinity. And in the early years, what was happening, the compositions of Tyagaraja were much more popular on stage because he had a stronger Sishya Parampara. So, yes, day before yesterday, I was at the Kapalishwara temple to watch the Purusha Mrigam Vahanam festival in the morning, and there was a huge Nadaswaram ensemble, and they were playing Tyagaraja Kriti after Tyagaraja Kriti. So you can see how popular it is in the Nadaswara style of singing and even the Nadaswara playing. Although there is a strong association between Dikshithar and Nadaswara players, but that's another story altogether. So, and then there was an awareness that there had been a composer called Muthuswami Dikshithar and that he had created an erudite set of compositions, some of which had become popular, especially Vatapi Ganapatim, thanks to a Mahavaidyanatha Iyer, who had introduced his own set of sangatis on this composition, and had speeded up the composition also, which apparently did not sit very well with Subbarama Dikshithar. And so when Subbarama Dikshithar wrote the Bhagyakara Charitam and published it in 1904, he left out Mahavaidyanatha Iyer. So it was probably the first indication of cancel culture in India more than 100 years ago. So, Dikshithar compositions were slow to enter the fray. And very few of them entered the popular concert circuit. And one impression was very clear, that Dikshithar was a pilgrim and he went from place to place. And this is one of the old maps of Madras. And if you trace the red line here from around Tirutani or even Madras to Tirunelveli, kind of follows the main line. If you know what I'm talking about, the railway line, we have the main line and the chord line. So Dikshithar followed the main line, although they didn't have any railway lines during that time. So the general awareness was that he was a well-traveled composer. And over the years, the awareness was that, there are a lot of compositions associated with him. Tyagaraja is 700 மேல இருக்கு. Dikshithar had about 450, 480. He was one of the Carnatic Sangeeta Trimurti. All his compositions are in Sanskrit. The general impression was that he incorporated Hindustani ragas and even Hindustani music into his compositions. And we'll get more into that. And he also composed Notuswara Sahityas in Western colonial tunes. And that he belonged to an erudite family with generations of Dikshithars who had been composers. And the family legacy was published in the form of the Sangeeta Sampradaya Pradarshini in 1904 by none other than Subbarama Dikshithar. So this was actually published following the publication of this work, which only included about 219 kritis and varnams and darus, most of which are kritis, about 216 actually. 3 of them are 2 darus, 1 daru, 1 varnam and 1 Notuswara Sahityam, plus the Prathamabhyasa Pustakamu, which contains more than 30 Notuswara Sahitya compositions. Yes, the legacy was firmly written in paper and published, thanks to the Ettayapuram Samasthanam and also Subbarama Dikshithar, who was described as somebody that had a rishi-like tejas and this description was not from another South Indian, but it was actually from Pandit Bhatkande, who had come all the way down to the south to visit this man and to pick up a copy of the Chaturdandi Prakashika on which he would base the theory of Hindustani music ragas based on thoughts. Now the Tamil version, and we should remember that all writing, Telugu was like a court language in many different courts. So the SSP was published first in Telugu. And then the Tamil version was published by the Music Academy in 1969. So that opened up imagination and people had more access to these compositions. And the web version of this in English was published in the early 2000s, and the Music Academy internet version came only in about 2010 and 2011, after which access to Dikshithar is a lot more. The web has opened up this in a crazy way. 50 years ago, the awareness of Dikshithar was very limited. Now, you can just Google any song, you'll find out the entire story about that song. Some discourses are correct and some are not. So that's why all this should be taken with discretion from the right parampara. That's what is important. So, prior to those days, songs used to show up on concerts. In concerts, not necessarily those published in the SSP, but even others like Panchashat, Peter Rupini, Akhilandeshwari, and so many other songs. So this led to questions. Is everything that's published in the SSP authentic? Is everything that is not published in the SSP to be taken with a grain of salt and all that? So, over the years, there has been a greater growing awareness of Dikshithar that has enabled deeper dives into his compositions, a deeper analysis of melody and sahitya. The authenticity of some compositions are being questioned and some narratives are being challenged. So the earliest stories of Dikshithar came from T.L. Venkatrama Iyer and a few other, Dr. Raghavan and others who have included a lot of hagiographic descriptions in his life, like the materialization of a veena when he took a dip in the Ganga before leaving Banaras back for his hometown. So I'm sure many in the audience are actually familiar with this, or I can go through the story of Dikshithar's life. So how many are familiar with the life story of Dikshithar? Not a single hand. 1, 2. Okay. Rendu peru dana. I thought there would be more. Okay. So let me get into that part of it also. So I'm just going on, assuming that everybody knows the story of Dikshithar. Let me put it briefly. Muthuswami Dikshithar was born in a very scholarly family. He learned Sangeeta Shastram as well as a well-grounded education in Vedanta, Jyotisha, Ayurveda, and a lot of other fields as a child. And he learned to play the veena, and he was initiated into the Sri Vidya Tantric worship by a guru whose name is Chidambaranatha Yogi, who requested him to come with him to Banaras. So he took the young Dikshithar to Banaras, and Dikshithar spent 5 years there performing his sadhana, at the end of which the guru asked him to take a dip in the Ganga and just stretch his arms out. And the story goes that when he stretched his arms out, there appeared a veena in his kaigal actually. So you can look at it in many different ways. Did the veena actually happen? Did the miracle actually happen? Or if you look at it metaphorically, so there's this shloka which goes Veena Vadana Tattvajnaha Shruti Jati Visharadaha Talajnaha Aprayasena Moksha Margam Nyaschati. So Veena is a Moksha Margam. If you know the fine, subtle distinctions of Shrutis, of the different notes, the gamakams and the microtones, adala tulliyama purinjudana when you are engaged to such an extent that all this is apparent to you, you're mindful of this, you're aware of this, then you are in a state of moksha. Because moksha is not going somewhere. It's not catching a flight, catching a vimanam and being transported to heaven or something like that. Moksha is right here. It is knowing who you are. And the way Pujya Swami used to describe it so beautifully, it's like moksha is not for sale. It's not by adopting a blind faith, or it's not going someplace. It's being right here. It's just getting the awareness of the Atma and everything else that surrounds it, which is the Anatma. Getting the clear distinction between the Atma and the Anatma. Once you shed your layers of ignorance, there's nothing left, and that's who you are. And the moksha margata, when you're in that state of total oneness with music, it's definitely a moksha margam. So the appearance of the veena is in the story is a symbol of Dikshithar's realization that tapas had actually borne fruit, but he did not actually start composing at that point in time. He was asked by his guru to go to Tirthani. See, look at the Tamil connection here. He comes to Tirthani. And Tirthani is, and he is asked to do tapas there also on the Shadakshari mantra for a period of 40 days. So he is in Maunam. And he goes ahead with this tapas, at the end of which a yogi appears in front of him and drops a sugar candy into his mouth. After which he starts singing Srinathadi Guru Guho Jayati Jayati. Okay. How do we look at this incident? This incident is described beautifully by Subbarama Dikshithar, and Subbarama Dikshithar does not give a hagiographic account of Dikshithar's life. He doesn't describe him as a yogi or a sannyasi or anything like that, but he makes sure that this incident is narrated. So, who is this old yogi? We have to look at other references to get an answer, and for which you need to know Tamil. Dikshithar was from Tamil Nadu, and Tamil culture is very deeply intertwined with Dikshithar and his music. First of all, he was born by the grace of Muthukumaraswamy in Vaidiswaran Koil, which is the reason he was given the name Muthuswamy Dikshithar. His brother was named Baluswamy Dikshithar. And who is Baluswamy? Chinnaswamy. His other brother was named Chinnaswamy. All three children were named after Murugan. Okay, so that is one connection. The Vaidiswaran Koil, Muthukumaraswamy is one connection. And then in Tirithani, it's an old man that puts a sugar and gives him this, it's like Diksha is of many forms. You can have a Sparsha Diksha where the Guru touches you and awakens something in you. Another form of Diksha is just a Drishti itself. There are stories about yogis just, the Kadaikan, when that glance falls on you, that's enough to wake you up and shake you up and take you to the reality of who you are. So, that dropping that little bit of sugar candy was the waking up point for Dikshithar. This is very similar to the waking up point of somebody else. You might have already guessed who that person is, and that person is Arunagirinathar. When Arunagirinathar was about to put an end to his own life, the story goes that Murugan appeared in front of him and touched his tongue with the veil, after which he immediately burst into the first Tirupugal. Adimari Kalidasa, when he was also at a desolate point in his life, Kali appeared in front of him and touched his tongue, or Saraswati appeared in front of him and touched his tongue, after which he became a poet, Mahakavi Kalidasa. Andamari Muthuswamy Dikshithar, this man, old yogi, comes and does this. But who is this old yogi? And the answer lies in Arunagirinathar's words themselves. So, many of you must have heard of Vel Maral Vel Vaguppu by Arunagirinathar. So, what does he say? Can anyone recite it? Yaar, please. Thank you. Yes, exactly. Tiruthanil Uditharul Muruthan Malai Virithan. Thank you. And the Malai Virithan, that is a phrase to look out for. Malai Virithanna another, it means an old man. So Malai Virithanna, it's the old man of the mountain. So look at Subbarama Dikshithar's description and Arunagirinathar's description, they are identical. So Tiruthani Murugan is referred to by Arunagirinathar as Malai Virithan, the old man of the mountain. So this was the Anubhuti of Dikshithar. So going back to Arunagirinathar's Kandar Anubhuti, what is the concluding verse? Urvai Aruvai, right? Urvai Aruvai Uladai Ladai, Maruvai Maladai Maniya Uliyai, Karuvai Uirai, Gadiyai Vidiyai. Last line. Excellent. Everybody knows it. Guruvai, Varuvai, Arulvai, Guhane. The first word is Guru. What is the last word? Guha. So when you join Guru and Guha, what do you get? Guru Guha. So Guru Guha is the mudra that is used by Muthuswamy Dikshithar. Guru Guha is nothing other than Murugan. So the connection between Muthuswamy Dikshithar and Arunagirinathar through Murugan, and also Kumara Guruparar, who had a similar experience in his life. He was awakened like this in Tiruchendur, and another similarity is that he went to Banaras and settled down there. So there's a connection with Banaras and there's a connection with Murugan. So this was the waking point in Dikshithar's life, after which he emerged as a composer. And if you remember the map that I showed you just a few minutes ago, and the map he didn't follow the map, but he followed his knowledge of the temple circuit in Tamil Nadu and went all the way from Tiruthani to Tirunelveli or Ettayapuram, singing of the glory of temples that he saw on his way. In the Kada Nariya Perku Theriyum. He went to many different places, like Vaidiswaran Koil. He went to Akshaya Linga Vibho. Anga he caused, the door was supposed to have Tal Tiravayingra Mari Kadavu Thorandirukku. And a lot of stories are there. So these are all each and every story, in my opinion, is like a metaphor which actually conveys a deeper meaning. And Kadasila, towards the end of his life, he saw a drought in Ettayapuram, and he created a kriti in the ragam Amrita Varshini, Ananda Amrita Karshini, after which there were torrential rains. So what we conclude from this is that he was a siddha. He had powers that could not be explained with a rational mind. Okay, so these are the known stories of Dikshithar, and finally he passed away in Ettayapuram also. This is a very, very simple version of the story of Dikshithar. In the process, he composed a lot of works. Tiruvarur is the place where the maximum number of compositions of his came into being. The Navavarana kritis in praise of Kamalamba, and the Tyagaraja Vibhakti kritis, and Nilotpalamba Vibhakti kritis, and Abhayamba in Mailadurai, and then the Panchabhuta Linga kritis and all that. Panchalinga kritis in Tiruvaru. So the list goes on, and so we have about 219 of his compositions described by Subbarama Dikshithar, and another 200 which came through the oral tradition. So what has happened in the early 2000s is that there has been a greater awareness of Dikshithar, greater awareness of the ragas that he chose to compose in, greater awareness of the intricacies of the Sahitya. And this also has been an internet-enabled popularity and also an intellectual curiosity. And also an awareness of the kind of ideas that Dikshithar incorporated into his compositions, like Vedantam, that is Advaita Vedantam, Agama Shastram, and Jyotisham, Sthala Puranas, Itihasas, and the other Puranas, Skanda Puranam especially. அதிலே நிறைய narratives அவர் எடுத்திருக்கார். For instance, even Tiruvarur is known as Chamatkarapuram. Chamatkarapuram, this interestingly, Tiruvarur, it's associated with our past chief minister, Kalaignar Karunanidhi. Chamatkarapuram also denotes Vadnagar in Gujarat, which is the birthplace of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. ஸோ ரெண்டுத்துக்கும் ஒரே ஸ்தல புராணம். ஸோ திருவாரூர்லேயும் அந்த ஹாட்டக்க மய லிங்கம் இருக்குது. ஸோ அதை பற்றி தீக்ஷிதர் சங்க சாங் இன் பிலஹரி. அங்கே குஜராத்லேயும் அதே இடத்துல யூ ஹேவ் த ஹாட்டக்க மய லிங்கம். the golden Shivalinga is the Kula Devata of the Nagar community in Gujarat. I've written about all those in details, and the connection with the Skanda Purana, which is a very valuable resource for a lot of references, and like Dr. Vaidhi was telling a few minutes ago, so even in the resolution of the Rama temple in Ayodhya, ample references were cited from the Skanda Purana. So this is what is the prevailing awareness of Dikshithar. So I was going to do this, but I will move on to, I was going to demonstrate how a composition of Dikshithar actually illustrates a temple. Maybe, okay, I'll just take a couple of minutes and do this. So Tiruvannamalai is my father's place of childhood. So it's our native place, so to say. It's a massive temple dedicated to Arunachala. It's the Agni Sthalam, one of the Panchabhuta Sthalas. So the story goes back to Siva Peruman appearing in the form of a column of light, Tejo Mayalingam. The top and the bottom could not be distinguished. Then so the Malay itself, Arunagiri, I mean Arunagiri Nadar is also Annamalai Adigal namdi sollalam avaroda per. So there's so much of mysticism associated with Tiruvannamalai. The place reverberates with energy. Adana Girivalam has become so popular now, but there's enough energy that nobody can take all of it away. And if you go there, you feel, then of course the association with Ramana Maharishi is also there. And massive temple. This is the Ayirangal Mandapam. This is Arunachaleshwara, the Utsava Murti, who is taken out in procession during Kartikaya Masam, concluding on the Paurnami. This is the Panchamurtis on the respective Vahanas during one of the days. This is the Rishabha Vahanam, and this is the 5th day. Kapali's 5th day was last night. And this is Nataraja during the Arudra Darshanam. And this is Manika Vasagar, who spent time in Tiruvannamalai. He composed Tiruvambave, and he holds a very special place in Tiruvannamalai. And Arunagiri Nadar holds a very special place in Tiruvannamalai as well. And here's the kriti. Arunachala नाथं स्मरामि अनिशम् अपीत कुचाम्बा सामेतं अरुणाचल. Should be sung much more slowly. I'm taking it fast. Arunachalanatham sada smarami. I always think of Anisham smarami. What do I? So, Ninaithale Mukti Tarum Thiruvannamalai. Oh. What happened? Smaranat Kaivalya Pradacharanarvindam Tarunaditya Koti Sankashachidanandam Karunarasadikandam Sharanagata Surabrindam Aprakrita Tejomayalingam Adyadbhuta Karadrita Sarangam Aprameyamaparnabjabringam Arudotunga Vrishaturangam Viprotama Viseshantarangam Veera Guru Guhatara Prasangam Swapradipa Mauli Vidrita Gangam Swaprakashajita Somagni Patangam. That's the entirety of the composition. So, look at some of the key. Oh, thank you. Look at some of the key phrases. Smarami Anisham. I always think of Arunachala. Ninaithale Mukti Tarum Thiruvannamalai. That's one of the sayings about that place. If you're born in Thiruvarur, you attain moksha. If you die in Banaras, you attain moksha. If you get a darshan of Nataraja and Chidambaram, you attain moksha. And if you just think of Thiruvannamalai, it will put you on the path to moksha. Another, the question, the phalam of thinking about Arunachala is answered in the Anupallavi. Smaranat Kaivalya Prada Charana Aravindam. Then the rest of it describes his the brightness, and there's a lot more related to the element fire, the Panchamahabhuta fire, one of the Panchamahabhutas fire, Tejas, light, heat and everything. Taruna Aditya Koti Sankasa Chidanandam. See, Chidanandam is a key phrase, and we'll come to Chidanandam again. What is it? Satchidananda is the Parampurul. This all of existence is nothing other than that oneness of existence, Satchidanandam. Swami Dayananda Saraswati used to beautifully put it as, there is only God. It's not like there is one God. It's not like there is many gods. There's only God. Everything that exists is Ishvara, nothing else. Matter closed. So that is what is described as Sat Chit Anandam. So Arunachala is nothing other than that Chidanandam. And as you go down, Aprakrita Tejomayalingam Adyadbhuta Karadrita Sarangam. He holds the man and Maru, and the man is Sarangam. Then Aprameyam, beyond comparison, Aparnabja Bringam. That's Nariya Podi in the lyrics. I've explained all those in the book. And then Arudho Tunga Vrisha Turangam. So Ingada matter relating to what you see in Arunachala today. There are a lot of YouTube videos which describe, this is Somaskanda with the deer in his one of his arms, and this is the Bringi Munivar praying to the story of Ardhanarishwara, Shiva and Parvati becoming one, and this is the Rishabha Vahanam, and this is a massive Rishabha Vahanam, and if you search for this in YouTube or even in Instagram, you will see videos of the Utsav Murti of Somaskanda being taken on a ramp to ascend the mighty Rishabha Vahanam. So, Arudha Uttunga Vrishaturangam. So, the ascending the Rishabha Vahanam itself is a feat which has been described by Dikshithar. Then, Viprottama Visesha Antarangam. So, Viprargal, ஸ்காலர்கள், ஸோ படித்தவர்கள், அவர்களில் உத்தமமானவர் சைவ சித்தாந்தத்திலே அவருக்கு உத்தமமான டிவோட்டினா அது மாணிக்க வாசகர் தான். ஹீ இஸ் தி அல்டிமேட். ஸோ விப்ரோத்தம விசேஷ அந்தரங்கம். ஸோ அந்தரங்கம் மீன்ஸ் ஹீ இஸ் ஒன் வித் திஸ் பர்சன். And how are Shiva and Manika Vasaka Antaranga? Tiruperindurai, and all worship is offered only to Manika Vasaka. He is Utsavam nadakkaradana, it's offered only to Manika Vasaka. Anga Sivaperuman thaniya varamaattar. So Sivaperuman and Manika Vasaka are the same there. So andalavu antarangamana Manika Vasakar விப்ரர்கள் உத்தமமானவர். And he is very special in திருவண்ணாமலை with the Tiruvambai being composed there. I think even Tiruchurnam was also composed there. நிறைய இருக்காங்க அந்த மாதிரி. So all these are captured. So that is essentially a story of Muthuswami Dikshithar, which gets captured, story of a given place which gets captured in a song. So to summarize it, I'm going to read this loud. The creations of Dikshithar in Sanskrit, in a stunning range of melodies, represent an unspoken story, the story of India's temple heritage, a complex tapestry of pan-Indian ideas, and that's very important. He is not local or kurugiya vattathukulla நம்ம அவரை போட்டு அடைக்க கூடாது. He is pan-Indian, period. Pan-Indian ideas interwoven with local traditions. So he combines a local with a global in a very powerful way, in a beautiful way, not an in-your-face way, but in a very artistic way. Puzzling palindromes. முன்னால் இருக்கிறத திருப்பி போட்டாலும், just like you see in some of the Devaram poetry, Yamama ni Yamamaன்னு ஒன்று இருக்குது. அதில் வந்து whether you read it from the front or whether you read it from the back, it's the same. அந்த மாதிரி musically Dikshithar has created a few palindromes, which his father had also done, but not too many people have done it. These are not easy things to do. And though only a very busy mind who can integrate things without making it seem like an intrusion, only they can do it. And archaic prosodical constructs and the Dvitiyakshara Prasam, Edigai, Monai, Palavidamana Anigal, as well as deep Hindu philosophy. So that is Dikshithar for you. But in the 21st century, we know what Dikshithar has conveyed. This is a description of his work. But with this kind of a work, what does Dikshithar communicate through his compositions? That's a very, very important question. Because look at all the legdams. Look at all the programs commemorating Dikshithar, all the lectures and talks and everything which have happened in his 250th year. They either talk about the musical intricacies of Dikshithar, or the Sahitya intricacies, or the interplay between the music and the Sahitya, or the presence of various ideas in his compositions. அதில் அவர் எக்ஸ்பர்ட் ஆக்கும், அதில் அவர் எக்ஸ்பர்ட் ஆக்கும், all that kind of stuff. அந்த மாதிரி பாயிண்ட் இருக்கே தவிர ஹிந்துஸ்தானி மியூசிக் இருந்ததா இல்லையா, what is true about his history, what is not true about his history. But the fundamental question to ask ourselves is, what is Dikshithar trying to communicate here? With Tyagaraja, it's very clear. His surrender to Rama is as the Parabrahmam is complete and total, and he describes this emotional connect with Tyagaraja, as does Shyama Shastri with Devi, as does Uthukadu with Krishna. But what is Dikshithar, what is he trying to communicate here? So the way I summarize it is that his kritis are nothing other than Saguna Upasana and Shanmatopasana, rooted in the foundation of Advaita Vedanta, and a discourse as a teacher distilling the essence of Purna Vidya or Indian knowledge systems. Indian knowledge systems is a modern word. Purna Vidya is the word that Swamiji used to use all the time. And the Purnamana Vidya, illa field in integrate panniti, he is giving out. And Verumna Kudukala, dry Bharat Vedandama, he is not giving it. He is giving it as Shanmato Pasana, dedicated to all the 6 deities: Ganesha, Kumara, Shiva, Devi in all her forms, Parvati, Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati, and so on, and Mahavishnu in all his forms, Rama, Krishna, Narasimha, and finally Surya also. And he doesn't leave out Hanuman. He refers to Hanuman as Parabrahma Pucha. Even in Hanuman, Hanuman is not, he doesn't refer to him as Siriya Trivadi. He refers to him as Parabrahma itself. So அவர் எல்லாத்துலேயுமே அவர் பரம்பொருளை தான் பார்க்குறார். And he uses a medium of music to deliver this. And all these things are known. You know, he was well traveled, educated, he knew Yoga Shastra, Vedanta. Okay, thank you. Advaita, Vedanta, Agama Shastra, literature, and all that. Beyond all that, he was open to ideas, he was an innovator, he was a wholesome educator, he shared his wisdom, he had a wide range of disciples, he was fearless, passionate, and he had a pan-Indian vision. So fearless, there was so much happening during that time. English, French wars and everything. On the war Narenja's landscape, he was traveling fearlessly. Nothing stopped him basically. So there is this composition called Anandeshwarena Samrakshitoham. There's another one called Sadhu Janachitta Sarasijodayam. If you read the lyrics of these compositions, you will see a lot of parallels between this and Tattva Bodham, a fundamental text in Advaita Vedanta. So some of the basic terms, like the three bodies, the Stula, Sukshma, Karana Sariras, as well as the three states of being, the three avasthas and all that, the Panchakoshas, and they are all described in detail. You need to have this vocabulary in order to fully grasp, at least in principle, Advaita Vedanta itself. Adalla he has condensed in this composition Anandeswarena Samrakshitoham. Very clearly, he says, I am protected by the grace of Anandeswara in Tiruvarur, and I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. So he is not, Anandeswara is not this, Anandeswara is not this, he is not this, but I am Chidananda. So which means I am the Atma alone. So this is pure philosophy. There's no devotion in this at all. He does the same thing in Sadhu Janachitta Sarasijodayam, Sakalam Brahmamayam, Nityam Shuddham Buddham Muktam Adalam Varum. Okay. And like I said before, all this was triggered by the Anubhuti that he had in Tirthani. And he gives the essence of this philosophy in compositions dedicated to deities all over India. And there's a deep connection between him and Banaras. So this is the place which is commemorated as a site where the samadhi of his guru, Chidambaranatha Yogi, is worshipped in Hanuman Ghat in Banaras. So, and this is Tiruvarur, of course. And Tiruvarur, this really caught my eye. This Starbucks is not in Tiruvarur, but Ajapa filter coffee tea is in Tiruvarur. I mean, just imagine, coffee ko Ajapa ka na samadam. Ajapa is the dance of the yogic dance of Shiva, which ninga Tiruvarur pai paaka mudiyalena, in the next 1 week you can go to Tiruvanmiyur and see it. Tiruvanmiyurla, after the main procession, night Tyagarajar is taken out in procession, but the Ajapa dance is enacted. The Swami goes like this, and there are 3 bamboo poles on which he is carried. Then front and back and everything. That represents breathing itself. It represents a breathing through the Ida and the Pingala Nadis, and the center represents a Sushumna Nadi. So the balance of breath between these two is what and your balanced state itself leads to the rising of the Kundalini in the Sushumna Nadi, and that is what is represented through this dance. Out and out, this is Yoga Shastra, explained using Shiva, and an archaic practice that is enacted year after year in all these temples. Yarukaga. It is for the devotees to grasp this wisdom. So the entire temple of Tiruvarur itself, there's this board and one more board also there. The tattva of the Ajapa Natanam is actually described in the temple itself. The temple itself is described as a manifestation of Raja Yoga itself. Now, where else do we see it? We see it here. Tyagaraja Yoga Vaibhavam. Tyagaraja Yoga Vaibhavamna enna ezhirkar நம்ம யோசிச்சோம்னா Raja Yoga Vaibhavam, the third line is the same as what is described as the makeup of the temple itself. So, you can see that there's deep content in his compositions. Now, the other thing to look at is the Notuswara Sahityas of Muthuswami Dikshithar. I just talked about 2 compositions in the Advaitic realm, right? This Anandeshwarena and Sadhu Janachitta, where he goes Nityam Shuddham, Nitya Shuddha Buddha Nirvikalpam. That is how he describes the Parampurul. And the Paramporul, this is a heavy duty composition. But many people already know that Dikshithar wrote Sanskrit lyrics to colonial tunes that came with the British. So we released, like I said, we released this as an album in the year 2008. There's this one song which goes, Jagadisha Guru Guhahari Vidhi Vinutam Dehatraya Vilakshanam Lakshanam Dehatraya Vilakshanam. Dehatrayam na another. Sthula Shariram, Sukshma Shariram, and Karana Shariram. Vilakshanam. This is not these three dehas. It is beyond that. Even with Ramana Maharishi, you have Koham, Koham, Koham. Soham, Soham. I am that reality. Deham, Naham. I am not this body. I am not any of these bodies. Dehatraya Vilakshanam Lakshanam Nityam Shuddham Buddham Muktam Satyanir Vikalpanish Prapanchamanandam Ajam. So it's like Nityam Shuddham Buddham. Koranda Padavendiya Patla, he's put all this deep philosophy on top of what tune? On top of a tune called Lord Macdonald's Reel, which is played in Irish pubs even today. So it's a dancing tune that is played in a pub. Adu mela avaru Advaithatha pottu thallitaravar actually. So what does it tell us about him? There is kacheri music that happens, it's celebrated, we enjoy kacheris. But first of all, kacheri is not a Tamil word. It is not a Sanskrit word. What word is it? இல்ல சார் இல்லை அது முகல் அந்த கோர்ட்லேருந்து வந்தது கச்சாஹரி அப்படின்னு கச்சேரினால இட் மீன்ஸ் கோர்ட். ஸோ அந்த கௌரவம் படத்தில் பாலூட்டி வளர்த்த கிளி பழம் கொடுத்து பார்த்த கிளி நான் வளர்த்த பச்சை கிளி நாளை வரும் கச்சேரிக்கு செல்லுமான் பாடுவார் இல்லையா டி.எம். சௌந்தரராஜன், சிவாஜி கணேசன். ஸோ கச்சேரி இஸ் அ கோர்ட் where disputes are decided. ஸோ பட் கச்சேரி அந்த காலத்தில் மியூசிஷியன்ஸ் யூஸ் டு கோ டு த கோர்ட் அண்ட் கச்சேரிக்கு போய் பாடிட்டு வந்தேன், which changed into kacheri paaditu vanden. So we've adopted that word. So my request to everyone is to come up with a suitable alternative to this word kacheri. Eventually, it'll be nice to have a distinct word, probably even an award for somebody that creates a word for kacheri. Hindustani music, the equivalent for a kacheri is the word jalsa, which is not very pretty either. So anyway, so kacheri versus Renaissance. Dikshithar was what we call a Renaissance personality. See, in one way, he's one of the Trinity. In another way, he's one of the Advaitic Trinity here. He just reached out to the universe. That was his calling. He related to the universal in the local. And he was deep into Shakta Tantra, integrating everything from Sharada and Kashmir to Shiva Brahman in Rameswaram. And so his music is different. So here's my question. What are the aspects of Dikshithar that we should be looking at in the 21st century? Above and beyond. I hope this was enough to at least give the feeling that Dikshithar's music is beyond kacheri music. He is beyond anything that we can think of in terms of comparing him with other musicians or other lyricists. He is an integrator who combined a lot of ideas together. He was a master educator in the sense every single composition of his is a master class in integrating ideas together and delivering them in a musical medium. He was a pan-Indian thought leader. Look at all his compositions. There are compositions about Ayodhya, there are Saketa Nagare Nivasantam, and Banaras gets referred over and over again. Kashi Vishwanatham in many different places, Kalabhairavam. And the height of it is Kashmir that he did not visit. He calls out to Sharada enshrined in Kashmir. Kashmir Vihara Sharajotsna Shubrakara Shashivadana Kashmir Vihara Kalapati. Then all this, the Sri Chakra and the deep nuances of the Navavarana Puja, which are not necessarily only South Indian. I mean, the deep Devi worship in Assam, in Bengal, and other places, it's a pan-Indian tradition. So, and the pan-Indian vision was always there with Dikshithar. So, these are the aspects of Dikshithar that we should be looking at in the 21st century. The specific areas to look at, which some of these are addressed in the book. One is Goraksha. Who is Gorakh? Who is Gorakhnath? Any answers? So UP la there's a place called Gorakhpur. Anga vandu there is this Natha yogi enshrined there called Gorakhnath, and he's a very this the another and that shrine itself is very popular in UP. So the Parashiva Balam Vallilolam Vande Nandam Hariharamodam Hamsanandam Hasasamukham Guru Guharupam Guptakaram Gorakshantam Goraksha. எங்கேருந்து வந்தது? We don't know the origins of this word. Was it connected to his guru Chidambaranatha yogi, who was probably a Natha yogi who had some connection with the Gorak Madam? We don't know. These are areas in which we need to be doing research. There's a lot of research that happens in a lot of other areas, but these nuances, these subtleties, who is going to explore them and how? So that is one. And Dikshithar, the mystic, the connection between Amrita Varshini and the ability of Amrita Varshini to create rain, and its similarity with the yajnas that are done in Kerala, as well as the... See, here's another connection. Vaninrulagam varangi vardalan thaan amildam endru unarappatru. That is Thiruvalluvar. So he refers to the rain itself as Amildam. So, Amrita Varshini, Sudha Sarabhi Varshini in Lalita Sahasranamam. And the Amrita Varavarika Kodi Ragana Amrita Varshini. And that Amritam shows the difference between life and lifelessness. அதுதான் தான் அமிழ்தம் என்று உணரப்பாற்று திருவள்ளுவர் சொல்லியிருக்காரு. ஸோ இட்ஸ் லைக் அமிர்த வர்ஷினி டஸ் நாட் எக்ஸிஸ்ட் பியாண்ட் தமிழ்நாடு. தீக்ஷிதர் கொண்டு வந்தது தான் அமிர்த வர்ஷினி. ஸோ வாட் இஸ் த கனெக்ஷன் பிட்வீன் ஏன்ஷியன்ட் தமிழ் ஐடியாஸ் அண்ட் தீக்ஷிதர்? அமிர்த வர்ஷினி. அப்புறம் the regional and the pan-Indian narratives, and here's another thing. We should gain inspiration from Dikshithar to track the sacred geography of India. Dikshithar used the means that were at his disposal. He had a knowledge of temples from the Puranas and everything that he had studied. And he made it a point to visit temples, study the details, study the local Tamil Sthala Puranas as well, incorporate them into a medium. He created a medium. He is the author of a new medium of storytelling, which were his kritis, which sometimes had only the Pallavi and the Anupallavi and a male Kala Sahityam. Mostly in Rupakatalam. This is uniquely Dikshithar. Nobody else did this at all. So, what was going on in his mind to create all this? And why don't we look at these and get inspired? The sacred geography of India. See, we can relate to this world in three different ways. One is our or motherland in three different ways. One is our Janma Bhumi, the land that we were born in. For example, my Janma Bhumi is Bharat. My Karma Bhumi is I'm living in America. So that United States is my Karma Bhumi. But there's a third one, which is the Punya Bhumi. So what is my Punya Bhumi? It is Bharat. If you take some of the West Indies cricket players whose ancestors were transported to the Caribbean 200 years ago, their Janma Bhumi is the West Indies. Their Karma Bhumi is probably Australia, or some of them live in Holland, some of them are in the US, some of them live in the Caribbean. But their Punya Bhumi is always Bharat. So they even celebrate the Ganga in Trinidad. So on the Punya Bhumi, Bharat is the Punya Bhumi for all of us, and it is full of sacred sites. There are some that we know about, there are many that we don't know about. The Tevara Padal Petru Talangal, that's just 275. But we have Tevara Vaipu Talangal, which are another 300. So that's about, almost 600 temples there. And there are many that we don't even know if they are referred to by the Tevarams, or some of them have historical inscriptions. Adhe mari, if you look at the Alvar Talangal, 106 of them are here named as the Divya Desams actually. But அதை தவிர அந்த 106ல இல்லாம எவ்வளோ இருக்கு. Go to Maduranthakam, it's an Abhimana Sthalam, and Sri Mushram, that's also an Abhimana Sthalam. அது மாதிரி நிறைய இருக்கு. So this what is it going to take to document all these? How do we create a new medium for documenting these? Now technology is available, AI is available. These were not there during Dikshithar's time, so he used his own medium. So why don't we use our own medium to document Bharat's legacy? And importantly, why don't we re-establish Kashi as a center of Indian knowledge, Purna Vidya? After all All these people did this. Adi Shankara, Bhaskara Raya, Kumara Guruparar, Muthuswami Dikshithar, and Mahakavi Subramanya Bharatiyar. What is common to all these 5 people? Kashi, of course. What else is common to them? All of them are South Indians. So Kashi is not a remote place. It is intricately connected to Tamil Nadu. So when you talk about the Kashi, Tamil Sangamam and all that, it has been happening for all these years. Adi Shankara, Cheranadu, Bhaskara Raya, Andhra basically, but he lived in Tanjavur area. Kumara Guruparar, Tiruchendur, Muthuswami Dikshithar, Ettayapuram or Tiruvarur, and Mahakavi Subramanya Bharatiyar, Ettayapuram again. So, the connection between Dikshithar and Bharatiyar, Subbarama Dikshithar lived in Ettayapuram after Dikshithar's time, and Bharatiyar was born there. And Bharatiyar composed an elegy in honor of Subbarama Dikshithar. So he says that Karnan ponabodhu kodai poitru. So Subbarama Dikshithar ponabodhu sangidame poitru abdinu he kind of laments. So I take inspiration from Bharati, who says Teruvellam Tamil Mulakkam Selika Chevir abdinu. அதே மாதிரி why don't we say பாரதம் எங்கும் தீக்ஷிதரின் ஒரு குருகுஹர் சுவாமிகளின் லெகசிக்கு என்ன சொல்கிறது, வாட்ஸ் தமிழ் வாட்ஸ் ஃபார் லெகசி கைஸ், பாரம்பரியம் செழிக்கச் செய்க. And it's not something isolated, it belongs to everyone, guys. So in the Varasiva Balam Valli Lolam, how can you say it's only Tamil? And especially if it's talking about Goraksha, and if the connection can be established, it belongs to everyone. Why are these songs not taught, let's say, in Uttar Pradesh or in Gujarat or something like that? Can some national movement happen so that these simple Notaswara Sahitiyas are taken and taught in Bengal and places like that? Because they give you the simple sense of rhythm and Shruti and everything like that. And the impact of Notaswara Sahitiyas is profound. I was really, really gratified to know that there's a scientist who had done a study on this recording Vismaya, the Notaswara Sahitiyas of Dikshithar, which I had recorded in 2007 in my daughter's voice with mild accompaniment, Celtic accompaniment. They had studied the impact of this listening to the 15 minutes of this album on children, preschool children from rural areas. And when compared with the control group, or when compared with the group that did not, or the average scores of children that age, the children who had listened to these compositions for 15 minutes a day for a 3-month period or something, they showed significant improvement in their cognitive abilities. So I feel that these studies should be taken up further. So it's because the Notaswara Sahitiyas are not just colonial tunes. People may talk at length about the tunes, but the tunes are not Dikshithars. They have a simple rhythm, simple beat, simple melody and everything like that. But they have been fitted. These are metric tunes. They have been fitted with lyrics which are mantra shabdas actually. So the combination of the mantra shabda in metric form with light accompaniment in a child's voice probably impacts another child's brain. So I think we need to do some serious study on this, on early childhood development. And we should develop new media for communication, which is happening in so many different areas, but we should do it particularly with respect to our sacred geography and our parampariyam basically. So this is there's so many temples that were visited by Dikshithar. And finally, I've summarized some of these in the book. So let's learn from the discipline of Dikshithar, the Purna Vidya of Dikshithar, the syncretism in his compositions, the innovation and the openness that he had, the broad vision, the pan-Indian vision, the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is one, that's only part of it. It's like just the vision of oneness, awareness of who he was at every single point in time, and above all, Sthita Prajna, that even temperament, regardless of the situations that he faced, that's part of his story. And I've composed a Mangalam in honor of Dikshithar. I'm just going to sing the last 2 lines of that. One line is Kshetratana Kritaya Kshetratana Kritaya Kshetra Koti Darshakaya Kshetrajnataya Mangalam. Kshetratana Kritaya, one who traveled around. Kshetra Koti Darshakaya, one who visited so many shrines. Kshetrajna Kshetrajnataya. What does that mean? kshetrajna kshetra jnataya. Here I'm not referring to the pada, the author of the padams. That's not the kshetrajna we're talking about. Kshetra is the body or the field of existence. Kshetrajna is the one that is aware of the body. Kshetrajna. And who talks about this? It's Bhagavan Krishna who talks about this in chapter 13 of the Gita. So Dikshithar is one who is aware of the body, of the earthly field of existence, and of everything else that is an illusion. And he is also aware of the knower, of the one, the Atma that is aware of it. So Atma and Anatma, he was extremely clear. And this also is explained again by Pujya Swami, not about Dikshithar, but the concept of Kshetra and Kshetrajna. And the final line of the Mangalam is Brahma Sutra Gita Vedanta Tattva Jnana Dhanaya. Brahma Sutra, Vedanta and Gita. The three of these are referred to as the Prasthanatrayam. It's fundamental to the study of Vedanta, regardless of whether it's Advaita Vedanta or Visishtadvaita or Dvaitam. These are fundamental texts. So Brahma Sutra Gita Vedanta Tattva Jnana Dhanaya. He gives that knowledge through his compositions. And the Dhanaya word, it also comes in Guru Guhaya, Bhakta Anugrahaya, and the Vibhakti Kritila Varo. Dasa Vidita Guru Guhaya Sarva Mangalam. Who's the Dasa? In my case, I'm the Dasa of Guru Guha. Dasa Vidita, he appears to me. Dasa Vidita Guru Guhaya Sarva Mangalam. So that's all I had. Thank you.